In this episode of Ask Judgeman, we'll try and understand the difference between targeting a set Gozen match with Nightbeam or with a card like Galaxy Cyclone, and why one destroys it and the other one doesn't. If this is your first time here, my name is Benji, and I do everything in my power to make sure I understand the specific details of the minute little differences between two different cards, just so that we don't misplay or get cheated in a game of Yu-Gi-Oh! So here we go. So we're going to start off by reading both cards and trying to understand the difference between them. Nightbeam is a normal spell card that says target one set, spell, or trap your opponent controls, which is its activation condition, which you can tell because it's before the semicolon. It says destroy that target. It has an additional effect, which is that your opponent cannot activate the targeted card in response to this card's activation. Now, while not discussed on the card, it will be important in the example that we use that you should know that Nightbeam prevents a card from being chained directly to it, although if another card is activated, the card that was targeted now can respond because it would be responding to Chainlink 2, not the activation of Nightbeam. So that will be important after we read Galaxy Cyclone. Galaxy Cyclone is a normal spell card that says target one set, spell, or trap card on the field, which is its activation condition. It says destroy it, which is its effect. It has an additional effect that can be applied during the main phase for a turn other than this card was sent to the graveyard, but this is the part of the effect that we are going to be concerned with in this particular episode. So in this scenario, we're going to pretend that both cards have been used in two different duels targeting the same set card, and that card will be Gozen Match, which is a continuous trap card. In the first scenario, we're going to target Gozen Match with Nightbeam. Because of how this scenario has worked out, Gozen Match cannot actually be chained in response to the activation of Nightbeam, so it would be destroyed unless there was a way to activate another card as Chainlink 2, in which case Gozen Match would be allowed to activate as Chainlink 3, as stated earlier. If you're unable to flip over the Gozen Match, it will be destroyed by Nightbeam. But let's take a look at the other scenario, where another card is in hand and can be activated in response, such as DD Crow. It's not really important which card it is, just that there is a card that allows Gozen Match to be activated as Chainlink 3. The only reason we're using DD Crow as the example is it can be used during either player's turn at any time as long as your opponent has a card in the graveyard. In this scenario, the chain would resolve backwards, Gozen Match would turn face up as Chainlink 3, DD Crow would then banish one card in the graveyard, but in this case, Nightbeam will actually not destroy Gozen Match, and the reason for that is the wording on Nightbeam. It says destroy that target. Now, the activation condition of Nightbeam is to select a set card and destroy that target. Now, that target is a set card, and the condition of that card is checked on resolution because it specifies that target. There are a couple other cards in the game that specify the words that target on them, such as Darkworld Lightning, and most of the Darklord monsters, which is actually the reason I'm doing this video, to correct a comment I made to a viewer previously in the comment section. Now, unlike Nightbeam, Galaxy Cyclone's text is much simpler. You target a set spell or trap card on the field and you destroy it. By saying destroy it rather than destroy that target, the condition of that card does not need to be maintained throughout the effect. So if the card is flipped face up, it will still be destroyed. So Gozen Match would be destroyed. But in the other scenario, Gozen Match would actually remain on the field. I actually had this come up with me on YGO Pro, which is why I was a little confused and looked into this myself. And then I thought to look back and try and understand the scenario with Darklord monsters, which we'll talk about in just a moment. So I was asked a question in a comment of another video: if two Darklord monsters target the same Darklord spell or trap card to shuffle it into the deck and copy the effect of that card, would they both resolve? And the thing is, I said that they did because the effects would resolve as much as possible and it was not a cost to shuffle the card back, but that's incorrect and it has to do with the wording of the card. So we're going to look at two Darklord monsters that essentially have the same effect: Darklord IXCHEL and Darklord Nastin, along with one of the Darklord spell or trap cards, Darklord Rebellion. Both Darklord IXCHEL and Nastin have the same effect, that you can pay 1,000 life points, then target one Darklord spell or trap card in your graveyard, which is its activation condition, and cost. So the 1,000 life points is a cost, and targeting a spell or trap card in the graveyard is the activation condition. The effect of the card is then apply that target's effect and shuffle that target into the deck. So if we were to target a copy of Darklord Rebellion in the graveyard, this is what would happen. Assuming we activated IXCHEL as Chainlink 1, targeting Darklord Rebellion, and Nastin as Chainlink 2, also targeting Rebellion, we would pay 1,000 life points when activating IXCHEL, then 1,000 life points when activating Nastin. Then Nastin would resolve, applying the effect of Darklord Rebellion, which is to destroy one card on the field, and then shuffling it into the deck. And then IXCHEL would attempt to resolve to copy the effect of its target, but there is no target in the graveyard, so its target is not there. It will resolve without effect, so it will do nothing. And this again has to do with the wording, that target. So when a card specifies a certain thing to be selected, it needs to stay in that manner unless it just says the word like it. So similarly, Machine duplication also requires that the card that is selected remains face up on the field. So let's take a quick look at the text of machine duplication. Machine duplication says, target one monster you control with 500 or less attack, which is the activation condition. Special summon up to 2 monsters from the deck with the same name as that face-up monster. So because it specifies a face-up monster, which is part of the effect, at resolution, if that monster had already left the field, then there is no card to summon from your deck. So machine dupe is similar to both Nightbeam and the Darklord monsters, that the target is part of the effect, and if it's no longer there, it will not resolve successfully. But as long as the card doesn't specify a face-up card or that target, then it will resolve normally, such as Shiranui Spirit Master, who just says target one face-up card, destroy it, or Galaxy Cyclone, as we've already discussed. And I'll see you guys next time. If you have any more questions, leave them down in the comments below. Subscribe if you have not already, so you don't miss out on our newest video, and we'll see you next time.